latest report from the BBC World Service. Don't go away, the morning run continues in just a moment. BFM 89.9.
Because friends matter. BFM 89.9.
BFM 89.9, that was the Eagles with Take It Easy. Wouldn't it be nice to take it easy on this Wednesday, the 3rd of May, 6:50 in the morning? And in a way we can, because tomorrow is a public holiday. It's Wesak Day. You are listening to The Morning Run. I'm Shazana Mokhtar with Mark Tan and Wong Shaoning. Good morning, good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Looking forward to the public holiday tomorrow. It's always nice to have a break in the working week. Yes,
Very much so. What are your plans, Shazana?
I believe that I would like to look for breakfast and have breakfast, at a decent time of day, because our breakfast is normally lunch, and that's normally after the show at 10. So perhaps, I'll actually be able to have a proper breakfast tomorrow.
No more Raya visiting?
Probably not tomorrow, but over the weekend, yes, Raya resumes. As you know, Malaysians, some of us, we celebrate Raya for a month because we fasted for a month. Hence, celebrations also go on for a month. Open house season is still very much underway.
What are you going to do, Mom?
Well, tomorrow is Star Wars Day, so may the Force be with you.
Is this like something people just made up, or is it really
No, it's a long-standing tradition for Star Wars fanatics. Yes, May the Fourth.
Okay.
It's such a pity we're not on air tomorrow. So many plans we could make.
Oh my
We're going to discuss the trends with Priyanka Kishore of IMA Asia.
Now at 7:45, Daihatsu, a brand under Toyota, recently admitted to rigging safety tests for over 80,000 small vehicles that it produces, including our very own Eurodua Axia and the locally assembled Toyota Vios models. We discussed this fallout from these revelations with Danny Fernandez of Auto News portal DSF.com.
Then at 8 a.m. as usual, after the news bulletin, we're going to have the breakfast grill, and we're going to ask this question as to whether companies should be run to earn a profit or to serve a purpose. This is a conundrum faced by all companies because, yes, the mantras maximize shareholder profit, but increasingly over the last few years, is it stakeholder interest that we should consider? And Philip C is going to dissect this question with author and London Business School Professor of Finance at Lex Edmonds.
Can I just drop in a quick plug for People, Planet, Profit, our weekly show that happens every Tuesday where we dissect this profit or purpose conundrum. You know, every week you want to tune in at 9:30 a.m. on Tuesdays. But Wednesday today is World Press Freedom Day. How free is the Malaysian press? BFM founder and managing director Malik Ali is going to be joining us in studio to give the lowdown on how editorial decisions are taken at the 6th station and his thoughts on the current media climate.
And if you have any burning questions, why not? Tweet in. Handle is at BFM Radio. You can also WhatsApp him 01878898899. And we're really putting him in the hot seat. He does not know what questions we're going to
He
ask him.
doesn't know, and we don't get him on all the time, so let's make
experience that's worth the price ticket. At the same time, you've also got to be careful not to overspend on things that's unnecessary.
We didn't initially think to include that song on the EP, but we had then learned that we needed 5 songs to do an EP to sort of like qualify for recouping royalties and stuff like that.
All the music news you didn't know you needed. Top to the dash of music reviews, interviews, and fresh new music. Only on The Pulse, every Wednesday at 10 p.m.
The news on BFM 89.9.
Here are the main stories at 7. Transport Minister Anthony Loke wants respective local authorities to identify all the road closures in the Klang Valley and come up with mitigation plans to ease traffic congestion. He adds that the road closures must end immediately, especially in cases where the construction has completed or yet to start.
All the main roads where there are closure of roads, closure of road as well, identify all of them, come back to those improvements like roads were completed, roads not done, and all that. That's only over here. Sometimes roads like they have to finish it within short time frame or time frame even. If not, they have to resubmit, they have to reapply. Now because some of the road closure has been too long, ada yang sudah 2-3 tahun ditutup, masih baru buka balik. So kita dah ada penutupan jalan yang sudah terlalu lama, mesti dibuka balik dalam keadaan segera.
In Sabah, a 53-year-old Malaysian guest of an island resort has died from suspected heart attack after snorkeling at a beach in Semproda. A 38-second clip of the incident is reportedly being circulated on social media. Sabah Electricity had to implement power rationing in several districts to stabilize the state's electricity grid system due to high demand amid the ongoing hot weather. It says this was also to prevent the entire state from experiencing supply disruptions. Meanwhile, the Royal Malaysian Air Force and Met Department are conducting cloud seeding operations at the Teluk Bahang Dam and Air Edam Dam water catchment areas in Penang from today until Thursday. This is to help cloud seeding efforts and restore affected water supply that is dwindling in the water catchment areas. Barisan Nasional and Pakatan Harapan have agreed not to contest against each other in the upcoming Penang state election. Chief Minister Chow Kon Yeow says the coalitions will be working together to capture a victory in the polls.
Kita sedia melihat beyond the agreed principle of incumbent to contest incumbency, tetapi bagi kerusi-kerusi tertentu mungkin kriteria lain selain dari prinsip itu boleh dilihat. Tujuan perundingan mana-mana pihak bebas untuk mengemukakan ideal situation bagi mereka, tetapi pihak yang lain perlu lihat dan timbang itu tujuan perundingan diadakan.
In foreign news, Japan is set to introduce a bill against photo voyeurism that would prohibit acts such as upskirting and secret filming of sexual acts. The bill, expected to be passed in June this year, will also expand the definition of rape. Offenders would face imprisonment of up to 3 years or a fine of up to $22,000. In sports, Austin Killips has become the first transgender athlete to win a UCI women's stage race at the Tour of the Gila in New Mexico. The 27-year-old American had won stage 5 to secure the overall title, as well as the Queen of the Mountains jersey for best climber. And in football, Arsenal defeated Chelsea 3-1 to return to the top of the Premier League table. In business news, EPF is encouraging employers to increase their contribution towards their beyond that employee statutory 13% portion where possible, in line with calls by workers' unions on Labour Day. EPF CEO Datuk Sri Amir Hamzah Aziza told TV3 this will be a good first step in ensuring everyone enjoys a living wage.
Pekerja pun nak tahu yang dia dapat lebih sikit kan. So that's why kita recommend kepada pemajikan contribute lebih pada statutory. Masa sekarang kita rasa kita kena buat secara sukarela lah. Kita encourage kepada dulu. Tapi yang root issue yang kita nak menangani, kita nak menganjak kehadap living wage.
In corporate news, China's Zhejiang Geely Holding Group has transferred its entire 49.9% stake in Proton Holdings to a unit of Hong Kong-listed Geely Automobile Holdings as part of the group's internal restructuring. With this restructuring, Zhejiang Geely's effective interest in Proton stands at 20.92%. And Pakistan's year-on-year inflation hit its highest ever level of 36.42% in April after the government introduced new taxes and raised fuel prices to try to meet IMF conditions for a bailout. In markets, European stocks tumbled overnight as energy stocks were sold on falling oil prices. Both Both the UK's FTSE and Germany's DAX fell 1.2% and France's CAC closed 1.5% lower. Earlier in the day, Asia-Pacific shares rose on a stronger Wall Street on Friday. Back home, the FBM KLCI closed up 0.7% yesterday at 1,426 points, tracking movements on regional bourses. In key commodities, Brent crude oil futures were last at $75.32 a barrel, plunging more than 5% overnight.
The BFM traffic report.
Traffic is at a crawl on the Federal Highway eastbound from UITM Shah Alam towards Sungai Way. Expect to take 30 minutes to clear this 10-kilometer stretch. Meanwhile, expect heavy traffic heading south on Jalan Ipoh from Batu Caves towards the Kepong roundabout. I'm Keith Kam. For more headlines, follow BFM News on Twitter. You are now up to date on BFM 89.9, the business station.
In the wild, it's all about fending for yourself and survival of the fittest. But we're not wild animals. We don't have to figure out how to survive on our own. On Health and Living, we get the health experts to share how we can put our physical and mental health first to survive and thrive. Tune in every weekday at 4 p.m.
The Morning Run, weekdays 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on BFM 89.9.
BFM 89.9. Good morning at 7:05, 7:06 a.m. now on Wednesday, the 3rd of May. I'm Shazana Mokhtar in studio today with Wong Xiaoning and Mark Tan. So in half an hour, we're going to discuss what's driving a potential global rice shortage this year. But as always, we're going to kickstart the morning with a recap on how global markets closed overnight.
So over the US markets is a sea of red. The Dow was down 1%, S&P 500 down 1.2%, and Nasdaq down 1.1%. But on the flip side, in the Asian markets, it's all green. Nikkei was up 0.1%, Hang Seng up 0.2%, Shanghai Composite up 1.1%, Singapore Straits Times up 0.4%, and our very own FBM KLCI up 0.7%, the winner of yesterday.
So for some thoughts on what's moving global markets, we have on the line with us Jack Kuzi, Director for Strategy at BFS Group in Sydney. Jack, good morning. Always good to have you. Can we start off with your reactions to what's happening in the U.S. banking sector? We did see over the weekend that JP Morgan Chase has taken over First Republic Bank. Will that end the banking crisis in the U.S., or do you foresee more instances of distressed financial institutions emerging?
Good morning, guys. I mean, there's never a quiet time in global markets. We bobbled along, it was a little bit quiet for a couple of weeks, and now we see another bank bite the dust, to quote Queen, one of my favourite bands when I was growing up. According to Jamie Dimon, everything is okay. We have seen, I guess, a bit of volatility in companies like banks like Comica and Scions and Trust Financial and KeyCorp. Look, I don't think any of the big banks are in trouble. I think we've got to distinguish between these regional small players under 250 billion that aren't required to do things like stress tests and aren't as regulated as strongly as the top tier banks, and these lower end banks which are really suffering from this contagion, more about people or citizens in the US pulling their money out. So I think the regulators are going to continue to monitor this closely. I wouldn't be surprised if they started to bring in stress tests for banks that are under $250 billion in assets. I think the fact that JP Morgan stepped in, I think will provide a little bit of consolidation for the market at this point in time. But the question is, are rates going to continue to rise? And if they do, we're probably going to see a few more shutterings that are going on. Am I concerned about a massive banking crisis in the US? No, because the likes of JP Morgan, the likes of Citibank, the likes of Goldman, they're very strong. They've been under some very tight regulation and stress testing since the global financial crisis. And that part, which is a major part of the US economy, is quite strong. But I think we'll continue to see some murmurs around these smaller end banks, particularly with the run-on banks that we've had.
One of our favorite companies, Apple, is set to release their quarterly results this week, but unfortunately, analysts are expecting to see a decline in their revenues. So what is your earnings and valuation outlook on this company?
Well, it's one of your favourite companies. It's my favourite company ever. And I've been quoted on your show saying this is the greatest company that ever existed in the history of companies. We're probably going to see it decline again. And there are probably a couple of factors. I think we'll see the production shortage, particularly in semiconductors out of China that we saw at the back end of last year, continue to hurt sales on the iPhone, the iPad, and other, I guess, consumer staple, consumer-driven devices that they sell. While we have seen a decline in the US dollar, it's been relatively strong over the last, 6 to 12 months. I think that will provide a bit of macro headwinds for their sales. What was interesting about Apple is we did see a China rebound and we did see a big jump in iPhone sales, but you also saw a bit of discounting, which is quite unusual for a company like Apple within China to boost those sales. What I do expect, revenue to be down quarter and earnings per share to be down, I continue to think that services will continue to provide really strong growth for this company. I'm talking about things like the iCloud, Apple Music, Apple Card, Apple TV. We saw that last quarter that hit an all-time high of 28.8 billion and now contributes to only 20 or 22% of the company's revenue. So I expect that to be strong. This is a phenomenal company which is in great stead, and I would be buying off any dip, but I do expect them to have a slightly less quarter than they saw last quarter.
Okay, I'm sure Tim Cook is sending you a medal as we speak.
I bet he is.
Okay, Jack, can we talk about a hybrid tech company, and that is Uber Technologies? Results came out yesterday afternoon and actually beat street expectations. Now, are you a fan of this company?
Yes, very much. What you tend to see let's look at Uber for a second and talk about Uber Technologies. Okay, there's ride sharing and there really is food delivery. That's the two main components that we're looking at this company. When you look at ride sharing pre-pandemic, it was actually starting to become quite a nice high margin business for Uber. And then obviously you had the pandemic and that happened. But we're starting to see that rebound continue. What happens when you have new industries like that is you get multiple players that come in, and then you get that consolidation. And that's what's happened with ride sharing. It's seen a massive consolidation around the world. There are really only 5 major players now in ride sharing, and Uber is by far the biggest one around the world. I think they'll continue to grow that segment of the market within there, and I think it's going to become quite a profitable business for them. They were on track to make profit pre-pandemic. The earnings call pre-pandemic, they had called to be profitable by the end of the year. That obviously was taken away by the continued, the stop in the global economy. If you look at food delivery, once again, we're starting to see a massive consolidation of this area. We've seen food deliverers all around the world go under, leaving 2 or 3 or 4 major players around the world. What that means is they've got pricing power, like they had in ride sharing. They can push prices up, and people are still going to use the system. So, it's got a great management team, CEO, direct, incredible CEO. I think this is a great buy for companies, one I've had for quite a long time. They have shed off a lot of costs. They got rid of their mobility sector, the Uber trucking, which I actually quite liked. I was disappointed when they did that. But this is, I think, a really standout company that will develop, and they're starting to integrate, other services within the app, which I think will benefit over time.
Let's turn our attention to what's happening in Australia. Jack, RBA, they unexpectedly raised rates by 25 bips yesterday to 3.85%, the highest level since April 2012. And they've also signaled further policy tightening. So is the focus going to be on inflation rather than growth moving forward?
Yeah, I think it is. I think we're starting to see what the US is seeing and some other areas of the developed economy is seeing. You're starting to see, inflation often starts with food and energy, and then it creeps into other areas, and it's starting to creep into services, and that's what we're certainly seeing here, and I think that's what the RBA was fearful of. continue to say inflation is like having a brain tumor. You really got to get rid of it pretty quickly, otherwise it hangs around for a long time and can have some serious effects on the economy. So it was very unexpected. Only 13% of economists here in Australia had predicted an interest rate hike. Definitely came very unexpected. We saw the Aussie dollar bounce off the back of it. Look, it's tough down here. It's really tough. The property prices have been declined for 12 months, although we did see a bounce in the last quarter. Wages are still quite high in terms of 4% growth, which is still quite sticky. But a lot of people are feeling it, and consumption is starting to come down. So they're trying to trade that fine line. But I continue to say I don't think interest rates are going to stop where they are right now, which will place some other pressures on the Australian economy.
Jack, thanks very much for speaking with us. That was Jack Kuzi, Director for Strategy at BFS Group, giving us his take on some of the trends that he sees moving markets in the days and weeks ahead, commenting there on the viability of Apple and Uber.
That just a question, according to Jack.
Not to Jack, yes, #1 fan, as always. But yeah, these are some of the stocks that we are keeping an eye on. Apple, with results coming out this week.
I guess not enough people buying iPhone 14s.
Yet, maybe?
Well, actually, you asked me the date to watch is, of course, in September, right? That's when they always launch their hottest, latest products. And of course, the all eyes will be on this new iPhone, supposedly. But the issue is, are consumers ready to pay the ever-increasing prices that Apple actually now charges? And on top of it, can they make the transition out of moving manufacturing out of China into places like India, right? Those are the challenges ahead for Apple. When you're a company that size, growing 15-20% is not easy at all. And of course, Mac sales also have come down, but all consumer PC sales have come down.
Well, let's take a look at some of the other international corporate earnings reports that have crossed our table this morning. And we have AMD. They reported better than expected revenue and earnings for the first quarter, but stock still dropped 6% in extended trading after issuing guidance that trailed estimates. So revenue dropped 9% to $5.35 billion US dollars. Earnings per share was 60 cents adjusted. In actuality, net loss was 139 million US dollars, or 9 cents per share.
AMD excluded certain losses on investments and acquisition-related costs from its earnings. So the biggest decline for its revenue came in AMD's client group, which includes sales from PC processors. AMD reported 739 million in sales for the category, a 65% decrease from the $2.1 made last year.
Okay, I think what's spooky markets is the guidance, right? The guidance is saying that they're not going to be able to bounce back from this severe PC slowdown, which we just talked about, at least in the next 2-3 quarters. Also, sales from data center demand in the second half of the year didn't really materialize. But does the street still like this name? It also, by the way, results were very similar with Intel, their other rival. 31 buys, 14 holds, 1 sell. Consensus target price for the stock, $98.40. I think the street still does, but it's going to be a little bit harder in the next coming quarters. But I do want to talk about Starbucks, and the reason why we want to talk about Starbucks results is that it's a reflection of how the Chinese economy is doing and whether the Chinese consumer is back. And the answer is pretty much yes.
That's right. Starbucks earnings beat analyst expectations on the back of better than expected international sales. China, as you said, is the second largest market. It saw same-store sales increase for the first time since the first fiscal quarter of 2021 due to returning customers after the rollback of Beijing's zero COVID policy. So people are leaving their homes to grab their lattes at the nearest Starbucks.
But China was not only the good news. The US same-store sales also jumped 12%, helped by a 6% increase in traffic. And its world-famous loyalty program also gained 15% to 31 million members from a year ago. During this quarter, Starbucks also opened 464 net new locations.
Okay, but does the street like it? Actually, not really. 16 buys, 22 holds, 1 sell. Consensus target price for the stock, $113.14. Last price during regular market hours, it was down 10 cents to $114.46. And I wonder whether there'll be any upgrades on the back of this better than expected numbers. Bear in mind, forward PE is not cheap for a stock like this, 33 times.
I have to say, I wonder how much Starbucks, I guess, reputation is being impacted by the trade union disputes that are ongoing in the US. I do feel that takes a bit we're going to head into some messages, but we'll come back with a look at the top stories in newspapers and portals this morning. Stay tuned, BFM 89.9.
In 2007, a woman bought gold for $3. A spectacular steal. It was a Sung Dynasty artifact worth $2.2 million. That's one way to leave your family a lot of money. Or you could get a $1 million Fly Life policy, the cheapest life insurance for women guaranteed. Use code BFM for 10% off at fi.life. Terms apply.
Bill Gates said that very soon AI programs like ChatGPT will be able to do the work of teaching children how to read and write. We asked an educator how this would be received in Malaysia.
I think it's definitely possible, and I think that's going to be something that's really, really helpful. One of the biggest things that is a big debate in education is English and how effectively or ineffectively we teach the language in Malaysia. And I think that there are so many ways in which ChatGPT is going to help us leapfrog some of the language challenges that we have in teaching kids. And it will really, really be on how effectively we can keep up and leverage the tool.
That was Johnson Singh, CEO of Teach for Malaysia. For the full podcast, look up how AI can be integrated into education on the BFM app, the BFM website, or on Spotify.
Best flipping moments. BFM 89.9, the business station.
7:21 a.m. You're listening to The Morning Run. I'm Shazana Mokhtar with Wong Xiaoning and Mark Tan. In about half an hour, we're going to discuss vehicle safety test procedures and what Daihatsu's admission of test rigging means for the brands that it produces. In the meantime, though, we are looking at the top stories of the morning, starting with the international front. Mark, why don't you kick us off with what's caught your eye this morning?
The one that's caught my eye is that the godfather of AI, Geoffrey Hinton, has quit Google and has warned over dangers of misinformation. The man, often touted as the godfather, has cited concerns over the flood of fake information, videos and photos online, and the possibility for AI to upend the job market. Now, this comes after, back in March, more than 1,000 technology leaders and researchers signed an open letter calling for a 6-month moratorium on the development of new chatbot systems. And signing that letter was also Tesla and Twitter CEO Elon Musk. But subsequently, 3 weeks after signing the letter, he himself announced that he's going to do something called TrueGPT. Now, I wonder who's going to determine the truth of that. Is it Elon himself or an AI? So I wonder whether Geoffrey Hinton, looking back, wishes he had not opened this Pandora box.
Interesting. I'm sure it must be very difficult for someone in that position who's seen this industry or this creation grow over the years to suddenly be put in this conundrum of where is AI heading to, right? I think that's the big question that everyone's really kind of mulling over.
And you know, this is his life work. He's worked over the last 40, 50 years on this, and to turn your back on it and quit Google, it's quite an amazing reflection.
But staying with the topic of AI, IBM's boss has to pause hiring, by the way, for jobs that AI could actually do.
Interesting.
Should we be scared? I suppose for a lot of industries, that is a possibility.
I mean, I think I see this related headline in The Economist about Chegg. Now, Chegg is an online service that offers on-demand answers to exam questions. They're actually facing a bit of an investor withdrawal after it said that some of its clientele may have shifted to ChatGPT. So as we see even consumers moving to, I guess, other providers that maybe offer cheaper services because of their use of AI, that's going to start impacting the labor force as well, and just what kind of jobs are being made available out there.
Yeah, maybe the media sector too might be impacted. Something we can ask Malik Ali at 8:30, right?
Exactly. We will ask him how AI is impacting radio broadcasting.
Is he going to replace us?
All right, other stories in the international front. What about you, Xiaoning? What do you see?
Okay, very quickly, annual inflation in the Eurozone rose to 7% in April from 6.9% in March. Now, this is just way above ECB's 2% target. Separate data also shows that banks have restricted lending and demand for loan has dropped, indicating a slowdown. So really, putting the ECB in a bit of a conundrum, because do they focus on inflation or do they then try to rev up growth, which is a question that
more complicated task just because it comprises of all these different
27 member countries.
that are moving at different speeds, yeah, so that makes their job even more challenging.
And it's consensus driven, right? So how do they achieve that?
Can I draw your attention to Hindenburg Research, which has published a new report. This is the company that I guess fired shots at Adani Group and caused like $100 billion loss of Adani back earlier this year. It has published a report saying that Icon Enterprises, a publicly traded American holding company, is overvalued and operating Ponzi-like economic structures. Now, Icon is, of course, owned by Carl Icahn. He's like that famous activist investor, right?
And he's now $10 million poor as a result of this report, according to Bloomberg.
It's painful, and I'm sure we'll have more stories on this as the week unfolds. But let's turn our attention to what's making headlines on the local front. Mark, what's caught your eye?
Another public listed company, Zealand, has slipped into the PN17 status. Zealand has been categorized after its external auditors expressed its opinion on its audited financial statements for the financial year ended 31st December. Now, I think this shows the reflection that times are still tough, companies out there are still struggling, and as at 5th April, published on Bursa's website, there's a total of 28 companies that are currently under the practice note.
So
Some notable companies are AirAsia X Berhad, Ella Maritime, Capital A Berhad, Pharmaniaga, Sapura Energy, and Server Dynamic.
do you see a trend in, I suppose, these companies listed under PN17? I know Zealand is an construction engineering company. I guess, are there any commonalities?
Aviation, oil and gas,
all over the place, right?
Well, there's aviation, there's oil and gas. But the point about all this PN17 is, okay, you've given a certain time to come up with a regularization plan. I think you should stick to that time. And if you can't fulfill that time, hey, something serious needs to be done. You can't keep extending it and shareholders wondering what's going on.
All right, let us turn to other stories in the local front. What do you have, Xiaoning?
I have this headline in Malaysian Insight, which to me is like stating the obvious, but maybe it's also obvious. Toll-free travel during festivals does not ease congestion, says our Deputy Prime Minister. If it's free, you don't need to pay. Doesn't that actually encourage you to drive a little bit more, especially since petrol, at least Ron 95 is fixed? So, yeah.
Yes, that is, that's quite, I guess, the, what is self-evident. Yeah. In any case, why is he mentioning, why is this headline coming up?
There's this cabinet
2023 is bringing together Asia's leaders from public and private sectors to advance actionable solutions for a just energy transition and meet the region's net zero carbon emission targets. Register as a delegate now at officialenergyasia.com. Energy Asia is brought to you by Petronas.
The news on BFM 89.9.
Here are the main stories at 7:30. The Johor Health Department has clarified that the death of a 12-year-old boy in Kluang had not been due to heat stroke. It says the boy experienced convulsions after getting a high fever for the day before, and he also had cough symptoms in the past week. The department says the cause of death, septic shock secondary to meningoencephalitis, has no links to heat stroke as reported. Meanwhile, the Education Ministry has released guidelines for schools amid the heat wave affecting several states. Education Deputy DG of Teachers Professional Development, Dr. Ahmad Rafi J. Kasim, told RTM schools can also apply to postpone learning sessions if temperatures exceed 37 degrees Celsius for 3 days in a row.
Semua pihak berkhususnya di sekolah untuk memantau kesihatan murid-murid kita dan juga guru-guru, memastikan aktiviti-aktiviti luar dalam keadaan yang panas sekarang kita elakkan, buat aktiviti di dalam dan pastikan memberi ingatan kepada anak-anak untuk kerap minum air dan bapa jugalah, sebab bapa yang akan bekalkan minuman kepada anak-anak. So ini antara perkara yang kita lihat dapat membantu menangani isu cuaca yang panas ini.
KL police have discovered 3 plastic pipes that were modified into homemade bombs inside a shop in Jalan Klang Lama after receiving a report from a security guard on an explosion at the premises early yesterday. Brickfields police say officers also found 3 fingerprints at the site with CCTV recordings showing 2 male suspects in the area. The case is being probed under the Explosives Act. In Johor, the Malaysian Maritime Enforcement Agency has determined the identities of 3 missing crewmen after their Pablo oil tanker caught fire in Tanjung Sendiri waters off Kota Tinggi. MMEA Deputy Director General of Logistics, Vice Admiral Dato' Saifulizan Ibrahim, says the trio are 2 Indian nationals and 1 Ukrainian, aged between 26 and 37.
Operasi mencari pendalaman yang telah dihadirkan melibatkan kawasan pencarian yang dibahagikan kepada 4 sektor keseluruhannya sejumlah 71 batu nautika. Melibatkan kawasan pencarian oleh aset laut sebanyak 47.4 batu nautika dan juga melibatkan aset udara iaitu helikopter KBMN seluas 23.76 batu nautika.
In the US, 288 suspects have been arrested in a global operation to curb the illicit trafficking of fentanyl and other dangerous opioids on the dark web. It involved multiple law enforcement agencies with Europe and South America. They also seized 117 firearms, 850 kilos of drugs and $53.4 million in cash and virtual currencies. In local sports, the Youth and Sports Minister had received only 1 report under the Safe Sports Code involving a national mountain biking athlete who claimed she was sexually harassed by her coach in March. It says the matter was handled by the National Sports Council's protection officer and police investigation is still ongoing. The athlete has resumed training to represent Malaysia at the Cambodian SEA Games, and the ministry says it will ensure the athlete's well-being is protected. Virendeep Singh has become the first Malaysian to score an international T20 century as his 116 runs out of 62 balls helped Malaysia defeat Indonesia by 94 runs in their first SEA Games Group A match in Cambodia. In business news, Farm Fresh Berhad has called for an EGM on May 10th to seek its shareholders' approval for the proposed acquisition of a 65% stake in Inside Scoop. Farm Fresh MD Lloyd Tuan Ee told BFM News the dairy firm expects to more than double the sales of Inside Scoop ice creams nationwide while competing against consumer packaged products.
The market size is about 1.1 billion, 80% of it is dominated by Unilever and Nestle. So we hope that in a year or so, if you go to 7-Eleven or you go to the kiosk, you stop anywhere, you can find Inside Scoop or you can find Farm Fresh ice cream. That will give a lot more value to Farm Fresh in the future. Not only we grow on the F&B space by doubling or tripling our outlet, but also to get into the consumer package space.
In other corporate news, integrated water technology solutions provider Cosmos Technology International has won a 4.2 million ringgit contract from Pengurusan Air Selangor for electromagnetic meters. An ultra-low-cost Indian airline, Go First, has filed for bankruptcy. It claims faulty Pratt & Whitney engines had forced it to ground about half its fleet. In markets, Wall Street stocks tumbled ahead of the Federal Reserve's interest rate decision, for which investors are expecting another hike. Both the Dow and the Nasdaq